It started with red and blue lights flashing through the trees and that eerie silence that follows just after someone screams bloody murder. Except this wasn't a horror movie, it was my backyard. And the scream? That was Karen. There I was, half asleep beside my daughter in our little weekend tent, marshmallows still stuck to the end of a stick in the fire pit, when Karen erupted like a volcano in yoga pants. She was pointing, shrieking, flailing her arms like she was swatting at invisible demons all over a tent. My tent, on what she believed was community parkland. Only it wasn't. And that little detail would turn out to be the very hill she metaphorically died on. See, every Friday night, my daughter and I have this tradition. We camp in our own yard next to her treehouse, roast esmores, spot constellations, and fall asleep to the sound of cicadas. But Karen, self-appointed president of the Meadowbrook Estates, HOA, and moral police of suburban decency, was having none of it. I watched as Officer Range tried to talk her down, drones still hovering overhead, catching every second. She claimed I was squatting on public land, violating bylaws, creating a militarized encampment, and whatever else her caffeine-addled brain could cook up past midnight. Then she tried to cite some made-up subsection from her purse, and started live streaming the whole thing to her HOA Facebook group, which is about as enjoyable as reading the comment section of a flat earth video. Now, I could have stopped it right there. Could have pulled out the land deed, shown her that 6 months ago, I bought this plot fair and square from a guy who couldn't stand Karen either. But something in me wanted to see just how far she'd dig herself in. And let me tell you, she brought a backhoe. She tripped on a garden gnome, the same one she gave me as a passive-aggressive Christmas gift, and face-planted into my firewood pile. Her phone flew into the koi pond, and my drone caught every second. My daughter whispered from inside the tent, "Is Miss Karen okay?" I didn't have an answer, not yet. That night was just the beginning. The next morning, she was at it again, handing out flyers door-to-door titled, "Emergency HOA Update, Illegal Park Takeover." It featured a blurry photo of me making pancakes, labeled Warlord of the Woods. She accused me of forging documents, harboring wildlife, and turning the park into a cult campground. It would have been laughable if she hadn't also sent emails to the HOA board, which, spoiler alert, was just her using burner accounts. She even held a live-streamed emergency meeting next to my koi pond, complete with homemade investigation signs taped to yard sale placards. I should have been mad, but honestly, it was just sad. But Karen made one mistake too many. She tried to file an injunction to freeze my use of the land, claimed it needed an environmental impact assessment. The judge threw it out in under 20 minutes. I guess he didn't buy her argument that my marshmallow sticks were a threat to suburban democracy. That's when I knew I had to end it. So I launched my own counter-striking email to the entire community titled, "Clarifying Ownership of Our Beloved Park." It included legal deeds, a video of the previous owner confirming the sale, and time-lapse footage of me signing the transfer papers with a notary. And yeah, it went viral. But I wasn't done. See, Karen had been sneaking into the park at night, reprogramming my sprinklers to flood the trails, dumping trash by the garden, even zip-tying a raccoon doll to the swing set with a note that read, "Unsafe for children." Creepy? Absolutely. Illegal? Also yes. So I compiled the footage, set it to dramatic piano music, and uploaded the montage to the HOA Facebook group with the title, "Karen, Guerrilla Gardener Gone Wild." When I walked into the next HOA meeting with my Layera cowboy boot-wearing legend named Dean, who spoke in metaphors and legal code, Karen tried to shut me down. But Dean had a projector, and when those nighttime clips hit the screen, the board looked like they'd seen a ghost. Then I dropped the real bomb, proof that Karen had been using HOA funds for morale events that turned out to be her installing solar lights and a new koi fountain in her own yard. I filed a motion for a full audit. And thanks to a loophole in the bylaws, since part of my land included a voting share, I had a legal seat on the HOA board. The motion passed. Karen turned red. The treasurer almost cried. But the real kicker? The audit revealed over $17,000 in misused HOA funds over 3 years. Karen was removed from her post, banned from the clubhouse, and ordered to repay every cent or face civil court. Her reign was officially over. But poetic justice wasn't done. During our community's Freedom Festa celebration of all things Karen once banned, we unveiled a garden gnome sculpted in her likeness. It stood proudly beside the treehouse she once tried to condemn, with a little plaque that read, "In case of power trip, break glass." And Karen? Last we saw of her, she was peeking through the fence from a gated community down the road, clutching a clipboard like it was the last remnant of her empire. So yeah, that's the story of how I got fined for camping in my own backyard and ended up toppling an HOA tyrant with a drone, a deed, and a whole lot of patience. If you've ever had a neighbor try to rule the street like a petty dictator, drop your stories in the comments. Was I too passive at the start? Did I go too far? What would you have done differently? And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you believe that sometimes the best revenge is just knowing the rules better than they do. I remember thinking that after the community library was installed, after the kids started calling my porch the landmark, maybe, just maybe, the story was over. Maybe that shade of blue had finally earned its place. But stories like this never end clean, especially when control is the drug. 3 months after the restraining order and the insurance debacle, word got out that the property formerly known as Karen's Kingdom was being flipped. Not sold, flipped. A development firm from out of town bought the lot for dirt cheap and announced they were turning it into a modern duplex complex. HOA-friendly, of course. Minimalist, neutral tones. Beige boxes. Identical shrubs. It felt surgical, like someone was trying to erase the past. At the next HOA meeting, the most peaceful one we'd had in years, the announcement hit. A representative from the developer stood there with his tablet, scrolling through renderings, saying words like revitalization and conformity like they were gospel. I asked one question: would existing homeowners have any input? He smiled like a robot. You've already been heard. I locked eyes with Greg, who just shook his head. Mrs. Delaney leaned over and whispered, "Here we go again." The kicker? The new plans called for the removal of the library. That tiny blue box that meant so much to us. It doesn't fit the new aesthetic, they said. Something in me snapped. That weekend, we gathered. No formal invites, no HOA sanction. Just neighbors. We circled the library like it was a campfire. Someone brought candles. Someone else brought lawn chairs. Greg gave another one of his infamous impromptu speeches, raising his beer can like a declaration. We defended this street from tyranny. We can sure as hell defend a box of books. So we fought. Petitions. Press coverage. We even got a local historian to declare it a symbol of cultural resistance. It wasn't official, but it made for a killer headline. The developer backed off slightly. They agreed to let the library stay, but only if it was moved off-site to an approved green space. That night, under the cover of dusk, we relocated it ourselves. Rolled it on a dolly like a little blue coffin, only this one was filled with stories, not endings. We placed it near the park entrance, under a tree, where the breeze made the wind chimes sing. The final chapter? Well, a month later, a couple from the city moved into the new beige duplex. First thing they did? Painted their door blue. Greg texted me a photo with the caption, "History repeats itself." And maybe that's the point. That battles for control come and go. That HOAs rise and fall. That Karens burn out and books stay. If you've ever fought for something small that meant something big, a color, a voice, a principle, drop your story in the comments. Because the HOA might control bylaws, but they'll never control our front doors. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And next time someone tells you to tone it down, paint it louder.